So let me tell you about David. He's 34, software engineer at a Fortune 500 company, pulling in $95,000 a year. I mean, he's got great benefits, a 401k match, paid time off, the whole package. Never missed a single paycheck in 12 years. By every traditional measure we're told matters, David is absolutely crushing it. Last month, David's company restructured. He got his 2 weeks' notice. And within 60 days, just 60 days, he was 3 mortgage payments behind, maxed out 2 credit cards, and staring down the very real possibility of losing his house. 12 years of what we call financial stability. 12 years of doing everything by the book. And he was 60 days away from complete financial collapse. So, how does someone making $95,000 a year end up that vulnerable? Why does a stable job offer so little actual stability? And what the hell is this costing people who genuinely think they're doing fine? My name is Khan, and I've spent the last 8 months, honestly, probably too much time, analyzing employment data, wealth statistics, and interviewing over 200 people who thought they had financial security locked down, until they didn't. Now, if you're someone who's got a steady paycheck coming in, who genuinely feels like you're being responsible with your money, but you still wake up at 3 a.m. sometimes worrying about what would happen if you lost your job, yeah, you need to hit that subscribe button right now. Because what I'm about to show you is why your paycheck isn't the safety net you think it is, and what actually builds real financial security. Give this video a thumbs up if you want to understand the actual difference between having income and building wealth, because trust me, there's a difference. Okay, so here's the thing about paychecks that most people fundamentally misunderstand, and I mean really get wrong. You think a steady paycheck means financial security, right? It's predictable, it's consistent, it covers your bills every month, as long as the money keeps hitting your account every 2 weeks. You're safe. Makes sense. Except, here's the problem. A paycheck doesn't actually create security. It creates dependency. What feels like stability is actually the most fragile financial position you can possibly be in. And according to a 2023 Federal Reserve study, 63% of Americans couldn't cover a $500 emergency without going into debt. And these aren't unemployed people we're talking about. These are people with jobs, with paychecks, with what society tells us is stable income. And that dependency, it's keeping millions of people financially trapped in ways they literally cannot see and were never, ever told about. All right, so let me take you back to 1970. The average worker making $9,870 a year could buy a median-priced home for $23,400. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, that's about 2.4 times their annual salary. One income, just one, could support a family, buy a house, and still have money left over to actually save. Then something changed, and you can almost pinpoint when. Through the 80s and 90s, wages started separating from productivity. You were working harder, producing more value, but your paycheck, it wasn't keeping up with the cost of everything you actually needed to survive. Fast forward to today, the median home price, $417,000. According to the Federal Reserve, the median worker now makes about $59,000. So that same house, it's now 7.1 times annual salary, 3 times harder to afford than it was in 1970. We're making more money on paper, sure, but everything that actually builds wealth, housing, education, healthcare, has outpaced wages so dramatically that your paycheck now, it maintains survival, not prosperity. Your paycheck isn't feel safe because it's predictable, right? Every 2 weeks, money hits your account, you pay your rent, your car payment, your groceries, your subscriptions, all that stuff. The system works, as long as nothing changes, and that's the part nobody talks about. Here's what most people don't realize, and honestly, I didn't fully get this until recently either. Your salary has a built-in ceiling. According to PayScale's 2024 compensation data, the average worker gets a 3 to 4% annual raise. Sounds pretty okay, until you realize inflation averaged 4.5% last year. So you got a raise and still got poor. How messed up is that? But here's the darker part nobody wants to admit. Your income is capped by someone else's budget. Your employer decides when you get raises, how much you make, whether you even keep the job. You have zero equity in this, zero ownership. You're essentially renting your livelihood from them. Here's another problem. Most people structure their entire life around their paycheck, right? Rent or mortgage payments set at 30 to 40% of income, car payment, insurance, student loans. According to a 2023 study from the J.P. Morgan Chase Institute, the median household spends 96% of their paycheck on recurring monthly expenses. That means if the paycheck stops for any reason, everything collapses in 30 to 60 days. You're not building wealth. You're just servicing obligations that require the paycheck to continue forever. It's like being on a treadmill you can never step off. And every hour you spend earning your paycheck is an hour you're not building assets, learning new income-generating skills, or creating multiple revenue streams. And here's the kicker. A Harvard Business School study found that high-income employees who rely solely on W-2 income build 73% less wealth over their careers compared to people with the same income from mixed sources. Same money coming in, vastly different outcomes. Your job isn't just controlling your income, it's controlling your time. And time, that's the only resource you actually need to build wealth. You can't get it back. And here's where it gets really interesting and kind of scary, honestly. The paycheck creates something researchers call present bias. A 2022 study from Duke University's Behavioral Economics Lab found that people with steady paychecks dramatically underestimate long-term risks and overestimate how stable their current situation is. You feel safe because money came in this week. Your brain interprets that predictability as security. But predictability isn't the same thing as security. It's just predictability. And the moment it stops being predictable, layoff, company restructuring, health issue, the illusion just shatters completely, and you're left standing there wondering how you didn't see it coming. All right, let me show you the math on this, because once you see the numbers, you can't unsee them. Let's say you're making $75,000 a year. After taxes take their cut, that's about $55,000 take home. Sounds like decent money, right? Like you should be doing okay. So, monthly take home, $4,583. Let's break it down. Rent or mortgage, $1,600. Car payment plus insurance, $600. Student loans, $400. Utilities, phone, internet, $250. Groceries, $500. Healthcare premiums, $200. You're already at $3,550 in fixed costs. That leaves you with $1,033 for literally everything else. Gas to get to work, clothes, any emergency that pops up, any actual life. Think about that for a second. You're making $75,000 a year and you're living on $12,000 of actual discretionary income. That's 16% of your gross salary that's actually flexible. Everything else is already spoken for. Now, imagine a different scenario. You've got that same job, but you also own a rental property generating $1,000 a month, maybe a side business bringing in $800, some dividend stocks paying $300. That's an extra $2,100 that doesn't disappear if you lose your job. That's real security. Over 30 years, someone with that paycheck and no other assets accumulates maybe $180,000 in retirement savings if they're lucky. Someone with the same paycheck but multiple income streams working for them, we're talking $1.2 million. Million with an M. That's the actual cost of depending on one income source. But you know what? It gets significantly darker than even that. The paycheck trap doesn't just limit your income, right? It actually restructures your entire identity around your employer. According to a 2023 Gallup study, workers with single income dependency are 4.7 times more likely to stay in toxic work environments, to accept unfair treatment, and to delay necessary career changes compared to people who have some kind of financial cushion. Think about what that means. You can't negotiate from a position of strength. You can't take calculated risks. You can't walk away from bad situations. Your employer knows this. They absolutely know it. And that knowledge shapes every interaction, every performance review, every compensation discussion you'll ever have with them. This isn't just a financial trap we're talking about. It's a control mechanism designed to keep labor cheap, compliant, and dependent. And most people, they never even see the cage they're in. Now, look, I know exactly what you're thinking right now. But Khan, I need my paycheck to survive. I can't just quit my job tomorrow and start a business. I've got rent to pay, bills, responsibilities. And you're absolutely right about that. I'm not sitting here saying quit your job tomorrow. That would be insane and financially reckless. I'm not advocating for that. But here's what that argument misses, though. You don't have to choose between having a paycheck and building assets. You need to do both at the same time. The problem isn't having a job. Jobs are fine. The problem is treating your job as your only source of financial security when it's actually your most vulnerable one, the one that can disappear with 2 weeks' notice. So, who does this hit the hardest? Let me break it down. Young professionals, people ages 25 to 35, spend an average of 12 years climbing the corporate ladder, building their careers, doing everything right, while accumulating literally zero wealth-generating assets. According to the Federal Reserve, 67% of millennials have less than $1,000 in investments outside their 401k. Think about that, $1,000. Single-income households, when you've only got one revenue stream coming in, any job loss becomes an immediate crisis, not just an inconvenience. A St. Louis Fed study found that these families are 8.3 times more likely to face eviction within 90 days of losing that income. 3 months. Older workers, people 50 and up, who spent entire careers thinking their paycheck and their 401k were enough, now they're facing retirement with completely inadequate savings. You want to know the median retirement account balance for Americans 55 to 64? $185,000. That's $7,400 a year for potentially 25 years of retirement. You can't live on that. This isn't random misfortune or bad luck. It's structural wealth extraction disguised as normal employment, and we've all just accepted it as how things work. All right, so here's how you start breaking free from this. Practical stuff you can actually do. First thing, start with a $1,000 emergency fund. Not sitting in your checking account where you'll spend it. Put it in a high-yield savings account earning 4 to 5% right now. This practically breaks the dependence on your next paycheck, covering everything. It's a buffer, a cushion. Within the next 6 months, your goal is to generate $100 to $300 per month from something that isn't your job. Doesn't matter what it is. Could be freelance work on the side, digital products you create once and sell repeatedly, or dividend-paying investments. The specific amount doesn't actually matter that much. What matters is the stream itself, that you have it. Set up automatic transfers. Make it automatic. That's key to move 15% of every single paycheck into actual wealth-building assets before it even hits your checking account, in index funds, real estate investment trusts, or business investments. Make it automatic so you literally can't spend it on other stuff. Treat wealth building like it's a bill you can't skip, non-negotiable. Commit to spending 5 hours per week. Could be early mornings, could be weekends, doesn't matter. Learning something that can generate income completely independently of your employer. Coding, writing, graphic design, sales, whatever. Skills that you can sell anywhere to anyone, anytime. That's real security. And finally, figure out exactly, and I mean get specific about this, how much passive income you'd need to cover just your basic expenses. If your bills total $3,000 a month, your freedom number is $3,000. Then every single dollar of passive income you build reduces your dependency by exactly that much. You can track it, measure it. And look, most importantly, stop seeing your job as your financial foundation. That's not what it is. See it as temporary fuel for building real, lasting assets. Your paycheck is a tool you're using, not a destination you're trying to reach. There's a massive difference. You probably see yourself right now as someone with a good, stable job who's doing pretty okay, all things considered. Maybe not rich, but okay. That's the story our entire economy has sold you since you were a kid. Work hard, Get a good job, climb the ladder, get promoted. That's what security looks like. That's success. But there's another way to see it, a more accurate way, honestly. You're trading the most valuable, non-renewable resource you have, your time, your energy, your expertise, all of it, for temporary income that builds someone else's wealth and someone else's dreams, not yours. David, remember the software engineer we talked about at the beginning? He did literally everything the system told him to do. Went to school, got the degree, got the good job, showed up on time, did good work. He still lost everything in 60 days because the system never told him the real rules of how this actually works. David isn't unusual. David isn't unlucky. David is normal. And the system? It's designed this way on purpose. Your dependency is being calculated right now, this very second, with every paycheck you accept without building something else alongside it. Look, you can't avoid needing income. That's just how the world works. I acknowledge that. But you can stop putting all your security, all your eggs in someone else's hands, in someone else's budget. Start small. Build one income stream, just one, then another, then another. True security, real security, isn't a paycheck. It's ownership. It's assets that work for you whether you show up or not. I've spent hundreds of hours researching this stuff, talking to people, running the numbers, so you can make different choices than most people do. Better choices. If this changed how you see your job and your financial future, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because there's a lot more of this stuff we need to talk about. I'll see you in the next one.